Hi, Shae Russell here, editor at Agora Financial Australia, and I am currently in Vancouver with Kerry Stevenson. Kerry, thank you for joining me today.
Nice to see you, Shae.
It's also nice to have a familiar accent around.
I know.
There's not many Aussies running around Vancouver here. Now, Kerry, we're all here for Sprott's Natural Resources Symposium. Now, you're here with a mining company. I spoke with Zua Minerals earlier today.
Giving them a hand?
Yes. I'm here because I want to talk to cool people. Now, you're one of the coolest people in Australia right now, and that's because you run probably what's considered the premier gold conference each year. And I believe the whole idea of this is to change the conversation people have with precious metals.
100%.
So, tell me, how did you start this conference? Because there's not many of them around in Australia at all.
Well, we're coming up to our 10th year, Shae, and we started because a guy called Barry Dawes introduced me to somebody who was running a gold conference in Canberra. Now, this particular conference was doing sessions that went on for like 4 hours, and I said, you know what, let's change the conversation around. It was quite deeply economic and all that sort of stuff, and I thought people are just not going to really understand all that deeply economic stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it simpler, but also let's engage the whole life cycle in precious metals. So from dirt to coin to digital. And so that means from the mining point of view, you've got the explorers, the producers, and the developers, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you've got the refiners and all the things in between, the dealers, the traders. Perth Mint are one of our major sponsors for our conference, as are ABC Bullion. You know, so why did I do it? I did it because I'm an investor. I wanted to understand about precious metals. And I thought, I'll run a conference. I'll educate myself, and then I'll educate others.
So why do you think there's not a great understanding of precious metals in Australia? And I find it very frustrating because I've been a gold bull for a long, long time now. But you mentioned that the gold conference you attended in Canberra was quite dense and economic.
I didn't actually attend it.
Oh, that was
I
when
heard from others who did attend that it was quite dense and economic.
Do you think it's those sort of conferences that surround gold, they're put off by the jargon in the industry?
I certainly think the jargon from the mining side puts a lot of investors off. I'm not sure that the jargon in the gold industry per se, because it's pretty simple. Do you want to buy it? Do you want to sell it? I think the main thing is people don't understand why it should be part of their wealth strategy, wealth preservation. And I think the reason behind that is in Australia we're pretty comfortable. And I quite often will ask people, how much money have you got in super? And 99% of them won't have a clue. They just don't care. Yet that should be part of their wealth preservation strategy. Mm-hmm. When it starts to get a little bit interesting is when they come up to that retirement age and they go, oh my goodness. So I'm trying to educate people at the younger stage of their lives. You need to start to have a look at how to invest. Now, I don't just invest in precious metals. I have quite a diverse portfolio. So I have property, I have physical gold, I have physical silver, I have shares, and I have super. Now, you can hold physical gold in your self-managed super fund. Mm-hmm. I just haven't done that yet because I wasn't educated at the time that I bought the physical gold.
So what have you learned through your conference? Because you don't, at your conference, you get some big names attending. I mean, you've had Eric Sprott, you've had Byron King.
I've had Rick Rule.
You've had Rick Rule. You have big names get down to this conference that ordinary Australians wouldn't normally get access to.
That's right.
So what have you learned by having these guest speakers come through and share their knowledge?
Well, personally, I think that everybody that's come to the conference has learnt a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that people truly understand that I believe we're in deeply troubling times. Mm-hmm. We're in unprecedented amounts of debt around the world. I love the way that the US government called it QE1, QE2. Money printing 1 and money printing 2. Let's keep printing the paper money. Mm-hmm. So what have we learnt? We've had some fantastic speakers come down and explain about fiat currency and the ramifications of printing and printing and printing more money. We've had speakers come down and talk about why gold is important. We've got an economic monetary expert coming down this year that will explain the history of money.
Oh, fantastic.
And when you understand the full history of money and the government interference of what it's doing these days, I'm telling you now, people should be going out and at least understanding a bit more. And people often say to me, your conference, it's not really for me. I'm just an everyday Australian. And I say, actually it's more for you than most other people.
And that's a really good point to make, because this is something that frustrates me, is how few people know about precious metals in Australia and how few people consider them part of their strategy. Now, it could be, like, what are the reasons you hear? Why do they say, oh, no, it's not for me? Aside from I'm just a retail investor. Arguably it makes it more so.
There's a ton of different reasons. One is it doesn't give me a dividend.
Oh.
It's not an investment.
Oh.
It's just a piece of rock and it should stay in the ground. And I could go on and on and on. But if you look at the way that gold can preserve the value of things, because quite honestly, the devaluation in fiat currency is what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, the other day, my father, God bless him, he passed away not that long ago, but we used to eat a Monte Carlo chocolate biscuits. I would go and buy a packet of Monte Carlo biscuits and we'd have them. So he passed away and I bought a packet of Monte Carlo biscuits last week. Do you know, I was absolutely shocked. They are tiny.
Mm.
So it's like the silent inflation. The price hasn't gone up, Shae.
No.
But the size has halved. Isn't that interesting? And no one comments on it.
And just continue to take it.
And we just continue to take it. And we're going to continue to take it until something happens. And I often say to people, you're going to go to sleep on a Friday night, and you're going to wake up Monday morning and the world will be changed. And everybody's going to say, well, didn't see that coming. And I'm saying, I do get passionate about it, because I really think Australians need to wake up.
Well, you weren't always a gold investor too, so let's tell your story, because you came to finding gold of your own volition. So let's talk about how you discovered gold in the hope that it can encourage other people to take a similar sort of journey into precious metals.
Well, I don't suggest everybody takes my particular journey, because I got divorced and realised that a man is not a financial plan, and I would have to start to be smarter, and I would have to start to... Look, my mother started investing way back when, and she was telling me that, you need to start to invest. I ignored her for a while, but when I got divorced, I suddenly, it was kind of a wake-up call. And that wake-up call was, wow, no one's going to look after me except myself. So start being smart.
Yeah.
So instead of reading books on fairy princesses, I started reading books on investment. I started looking at what Warren Buffett and how he invested. Obviously, we had Eric Sprott come down to the conference. I looked at what he's doing. I always say to people, if you're hanging around alcoholics, you're going to be an alcoholic. If you're going to be broke, hang around broke people. If you want to be successful, just go follow what the successful people are doing. And when you've got people like Ray Dalio, who's a very, very successful investor, when he turns around and says, gold is a very good way to invest, I start listening.
Do you know, it's funny you mention Warren Buffett, because he's notoriously anti-gold. So
he is.
And look, Warren Buffett, there is only one Warren Buffett. So how do you sort of rationalise that sort of differing opinion between Eric Sprott, who is quite pro-precious metals, and somebody like Warren Buffett?
I love it. Do you know why? Because that's called a diversified portfolio.
Yes.
Because I'm not saying to people, I want you to sell your children and your house and go all in gold. But I'm saying you need to have some exposure. And I guess it's kind of like insurance. It's insurance against everything. And I'm not one of these people that say the world's going to end tomorrow. But what I am saying is, if you have a little bit of something, so for example, if the world gets into a whole heap of trouble, then I believe the gold price will become very strong, and that would be a good place to be. But if the world is getting in a really good place, then the gold price will go down. But I've got a feet in both camps, so I'm fine. And I think that's what I mean by have a look at what Warren Buffett says. And you're right, he doesn't like gold at all. But I truly believe that most people need to understand that the value of holding the gold is in the devaluation of the current fiat currencies globally.
That's a really good way to put it. I really like that. You have an extensive network of mining contacts, which, is quite impressive. How do you feel when people come to investing in mining companies, they don't really understand it?
No.
Now, we can't name drop. How do you think how do we create interest in mining companies to go along with physical gold?
It's a really, really good question, and one I'm glad you asked me, because here's the thing. I've often said to the mining companies, can you make it a little bit simpler? Because I know people with a great deal of money, and you start talking about down dip and extensions and all this sort of stuff. And I'm telling you, I see their eyes glaze over and they're gone. What they want to know is, why should I give you my hard-earned money and what is my return going to be? Now, we all know that from the exploration side, it's high risk.
Yes.
It's high risk, high reward. But not all of it's, they're not all going to come true.
No.
And so you've got to understand it a little bit. But what I also say to people, the good thing about coming to a conference like ours is you can go and talk to the MD and say, I haven't got a clue about mining, so talk to me at the lowest level and tell me why I should give you some money.
And I think that's a very good point, because education is key. You don't one day wake up and suddenly be the Warren Buffett of investing, or the Eric Sprott of mines around the world. You've got to do the grunt work. You've got to go to conferences and talk to people. You've got to read the books. Even when it comes to precious metals dealers, you've got to say to them, have you got a gold coin that I can get? All right, Kerry, you've done something controversial. You have gone and mashed an old currency with a new currency. You've added a third day to your conference.
Yep.
Explain to a gold bug like me why we need to talk about digital money.
Look, Shae, I've got a son. He's 26 years old, and I really doubt that my son is going to go in and buy physical gold. Like, spend the time going in, proving that he is who he is, etc., etc., etc. They do everything online, and everything is digital. Digital is not going away, but again, let's go back to getting educated. The thing that bugs me the most is when people don't understand something, they go and make mistakes.
Yes.
And that's proven in buying physical gold through the wrong trader or dealer. It's proven through buying the wrong mining company. Buyer beware, but buyer be educated. So the reason that I decided to do a digital day on day 3 is, if you don't believe in it, that's cool. But the option's there for you to be able to come and get educated. Because you don't have to come to all 3 days. You can buy a ticket for whatever day you want. And there's a ridiculous early bird price right now. Don't know how long I'll keep that one there. But we're working with finder.com.au and Hivex to actually get the message out there that this is for every Australian, because we don't want you to be scammed. Because that is my bugbear. My bugbear is that when you have something new like the digital currencies and the stable coins and all the rest, we all know, a lot of people know the story of Mt. Gox and its demise and how lots of people lost lots of money. So let's get some experts in. Then we've got people like Keith Weiner, who's amazing economic historian. He's going to talk for an hour. I could have him talk for 4 hours, but I've asked him to condense it down because lots of people don't understand about the history behind money and where we're going into a digital future.
But the point that you're trying to make is you're creating options for people to educate themselves.
Correct.
And find out that perhaps investing in miners and precious metals isn't as inaccessible as they think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People just Australia was built off the back of agriculture and mining.
Yes,
people see, and the problem we've got is over 90% of us live in cities, and there's a disconnect. People don't understand that their mobile phone wouldn't exist without mining. And actually, most of the miners that I know are environmentalists. They care about the environment. They really do. But a lot of people that are living in the cities have no clue. So, Shae, thank you for helping me share the message, because guess what? If we can get everyday Australians to understand that in Sydney in October there's going to be something that they can attend for very little investment, but get themselves really well educated.
Well, it's about, not reading a headline and reacting to it. It's about, like everything, you don't buy a house because you like the brickwork. Nobody does. You do your due diligence. You have surveyors come through. Investing is the exact same thing, and that is literally what you're trying to give people.
Am giving people, because you know what? That's why I go to a lot of trouble, and that's why I'm here in Vancouver. Rick Raw puts on a fabulous event.
Yes.
I'm educating myself about what are the opportunities to invest up here in North America.
But that's the other thing too that people don't realise about conferences are the people you meet and the stories that are told. So already, I've been here. I've been hanging out with geologists, and they name drop deposits like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But that changes my investment tactic. I just had a fantastic conversation with a precious metals dealer in the US. He sent me on a whole new direction just by that, and that's what you get at these conferences. You make connections that you might not make otherwise.
That's exactly right.
And it's nice to meet other like-minded investors and share ideas, or even have your own ideas tested.
And have your own ideas tested.
Yes.
And the way that Sprott puts his conferences together and the different and diverse people he gets, that's as I say, you know, I'm putting on a gold conference in Australia, but I'm continually educating myself globally.
Well, of course. Look, Kerry, thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to be at your conference where I'm speaking at.
I was just about to say, we have a number of keynote speakers.
I'm one of them.
Well, yeah, because Shae, you do understand this market. Number one.
Yes.
And you follow a lot of the mining companies. So I believe you're going to be talking about what to look for when you're investing in a mining company.
Yeah, look, my speech is still a work in progress, but I'm really... you keep asking me for some points.
Months away.
But you're right. I do want to help people demystify miners. And, you know, we've said this off camera before. I find a lot of what the content miners put out too hard to understand. I do this for a living, and there's times when I have to go Google a certain phrase because it makes no sense to me. So if it makes no sense to somebody who's been kicking around the industry for 11 years, how is it going to make sense to somebody at the other end of it?
I hope they're all listening. But it's true.
So that's my thing. I want to show people, you know, obviously not every stock you buy is going to be a winner, but there's certain things you can look for that can try and prevent you buying the really bad ones. And the other thing too is, and this has been an ongoing theme at this conference here, and this is something I will incorporate into my speech, get out plan. There is no point buying a stock without knowing that you've got to sell it. Because it's still just a goddamn paper profit until you cash out. And cashing out is half the battle. So, no, that's what I'll be talking.
But you see, that's why I'm so excited to have you as a keynote speaker. We go and we test who people are and what their philosophies are. And there's very few people that understand it's not just about buying a stock. It's when to sell.
Exactly, because nobody can call the top of the market. And
that's right.
There's nothing wrong with getting out halfway through a rally. Money's money. You know, what's that saying? You've got to know when to fold them?
Yeah.
If there's money there to be taken, take it and put it into another idea.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a big focus on what I'm going to be talking about.
Good.
Obviously, I specialise in micro miners. That's sort of my wheelhouse. So there'll be a lot of knowing what to look for. Do you want to do brownfields? And there's some great things happening in the gold space in Australia. But I'm actually, as you can tell by my little run that I'm going on now, I'm very passionate about.
Great.
I've been calling it the gold mining renaissance in Victoria that we're seeing because we're testing new depths. So
we've got a whole session on the Victorian gold mines.
I'm really looking forward to that one. So no, I can't wait to come and speak at your conference.
We appreciate you
in Sydney.
That's exciting.
All right, so this sort of became a mutual interview. Thank you very much for joining me today,
Thanks,
Kerry.
Shae.
It's been awesome hanging out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.